View from the Gutters, episode 46. Welcome to View from the Gutters, the comic book podcast where each episode we discuss a collected edition, trade paperback, or graphic novel, and then recommend and vote on the book for the next episode. Warning: the discussion portion of this show has massive spoilers for that book. On this episode, we discuss Tower of Babel, and to skip ahead to the recommendation section, skip to 108.01.
I'll tell you what, I'll sell you mine.
My hours?
No, my fucking laptop, because I want a Retina.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that. On the show, welcome to View from the Gutters, episode 46. Joe sells me his laptop.
Joe sells a laptop. That's the official title.
I'm Andrew Chard. We're talking about Tower of Babel.
I'm Joe Preddy, and we are talking about Tower of Babel.
Merrick Mannix, and yes, I third that it is Tower of Babel.
I'm Tobiah Panchin, and only some of us are talking about Tower of Babel.
I'm Cade Reynolds, and I'm definitely not talking about Tower of Babel.
You're not talking about it.
I'm going to talk about a good Batman book instead.
Oh! First shot across the bow.
First blood.
It's
cold-blooded.
See,
right.
I told you, didn't I call it?
You did.
I fucking called it, didn't I?
All right.
I did call it.
That is some hate.
I'm
hate
just kidding. I actually love this book.
Damn!
I had problems
tricked.
with it, but, I mean, overall, I loved it. I thought it was good. I mean, okay, the problems were definitely there, but...
I had so many problems with this book.
Yeah.
I had Toby
we know that
I
you
thought
did.
it was kind of terrible.
Yeah.
I had Toby enumerate all his problems with it to me.
And there were a lot of
And he should do that on the show now.
He should
will.
do that on the show now.
Go, Toby.
Well, no.
Just-
Who pitched the book? Was it you?
And
Charlie?
I repitched it.
Why don't you start by talking about it since you pitched it, and then I will make my counter.
Okay. The reason that I really enjoy this book is because most people's introduction to the DC universe is Superman and Batman. And this is a great way, I think, to get them introduced to my JLA. The Kyle Rayner, Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Wally West
There's
JLA.
no Green Arrow, though.
No.
To me, Green Arrow makes JLA.
Yeah, but this is my JLA. Like, this started coming out in 96.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Morrison
that
stuff, yeah.
that was when I was like first really paying attention to DC stuff, I think. And so for me, this is I love this whole JLA run. I think it's really fun. I do think that it's a bit dated now, but I think that as far as like getting people introduced to a JLA and a JLA that I'm familiar with, this is one of the best ways to take the relationship that Superman and Batman have and like introduce a bunch of other characters to that. It doesn't really showcase the relationship that the JLA has to Batman very well because they're mad at him most of the time, but it does have a lot of great elements of like who does what for what part of the team, like who holds the team together, who's the team's heart, who's the team's brain, who's the team's, logic. And a lot of the characters, even though they're being incapacitated throughout the book, are still doing cool superhero Justice League things. Like, just when you think they've been beaten, they come back from beyond the grave to do, like, cool shit all the time. Like, Martian Manhunter in his suit full of whatever so that he doesn't catch on fire all the time. And
Yeah, but
and then he like tricks Aquaman into thinking that he's in the desert so that he's not having his phobia attacks when really he's like replenishing. Like there's so much cool stuff going on where you get to see each Justice League member like really showcase what they're doing.
Yeah.
I really like that about it, and I like I think the relationship between Superman and Batman is explored in a really interesting way in here. And I think as far as a Justice League book that introduces the League to people, I'm hard-pressed to find a book that does it better. Without having them start at the beginning of this run, which I feel like is even more dated than this book, or giving them like Brad Meltzer's JLA, which isn't my JLA, or the New 52 JLA, which isn't really my JLA.
And should be nobody's JLA.
Don't do it.
Or New Frontier, which again isn't really my JLA because it's the Silver Age. I love that book, but to introduce the modern era, quote unquote, modern era of DC Justice League, I think this is one of the best jumping on points.
It's really weird to me that you would say that, because even with my objections to this book aside, and I'll make those presently, this doesn't seem to me like a typical JLA story. I mean, it's very angry. It's about the JLA basically all being really pissed at Batman and not acting or operating in their usual way.
Yeah, and I think that why I like this is because unlike a normal JLA book where they just like sort of team up and they're all together all the time and they take down a foe like Starro or something, you get to see the interpersonal relationship. So like the example I was giving of Martian Manhunter and Aquaman team up for a while, and like Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and the Flash team up for a while. You get to see like how each character interacts with other characters and who's kind of friends with who. And this book as a whole, because after the Tower of Babel story, there's the Aquaman Wonder Woman story in this trade too, which I think is a really good example of like those two the interplay between those two characters, two like royal characters interacting together, and they're not necessarily like friends all the time. And you also have the issue before this where like the League, I mean, Tower of Babel.
I think that issue 42, where they go inside the brain, and are in like the micro universe.
Yeah,
I think that's a great JLA story.
I do too, like and that's the first one in this trade. So like when I recommend this trade to people as like a great jumping on point to this book, like I'm including that in my pitch. Like I think that it sets up how the League works together. It showcases their powers. They're in a weird situation. It's very fun, and then you get to see it kind of fall apart. And then at the end of the book, you get to see more like interactions again. And I think that they disagree on stuff, but at the end of the day, they're still the Justice League, and that's what I like about it.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm willing to entertain the idea that seeing characters act in a way that is an exception to the way that they normally interact is interesting, but you're only going to really understand that when you see it in contrast to the more usual JLA story, and I think that's an important grounding to have if you're going to appreciate this story.
Well, I disagree because I don't think that Kyle or Wally ever are out of character in this book. They're very on character.
I'm sure they're very on character, but what I'm saying is that
they're just mad at Batman.
You need to have a grounding in what a traditional Justice League story is about and how it works for the change in this story to really be compelling.
I think you get that with the issue 42.
Well, let me say this. This was my first like modern age JLA book. I mean, I had some experience with it in the 90s with the Death of Superman and some of the DeMatteis Giffen run, but this was kind of my first post Morrison JLA run, and it's to this day one of my favorite JLA books because I think it does establish. It may not do the best. I don't think it's about establishing the League and what they stand for, although I think that's kind of set up in the first trade. But it makes the League interesting enough so that you would go back and find out what preceded this, or want to find out what happens. Because I mean, the League dissolves after this. It's a slower dissolve, but
no. This is book 7. Mm-hmm. There are 18 trades of this run, so it takes a really long time for the League to disband.
It does. Okay.
The League doesn't disband until after Identity Crisis.
Yeah, no, this is, and then what happens is
this was 98, and Identity Crisis wasn't until like 2004.
This was 2000. So it was like June.
Yeah, the run starts in 98, but this book doesn't come out until like 2000.
But still, like 4 years.
There are a lot of trades after this because Batman comes back before.
But there
Identity
is a
Crisis.
different JLA after this one.
Yeah.
No,
because Green Arrow does rejoin the JLA during this run.
This is the core JLA, and when they rebooted the JLA with Grant Morrison, he was very clear that it's the 7.
Yeah.
And this book has Plastic Man in it, which is an additional character, but a lot of this run is kind of like going back to its roots of this is our Justice League team. There are 7 members, and occasionally other members will join. And so eventually Green Arrow is one of those people, and they add more people to it.
They get Faith in there and Major Damage. Right.
And then at some point they're just like, fuck it, get everybody, because like they need them for
because
crisis
this is the same
events,
run
right?
that Obsidian Age isn't too far after this, right?
Yeah.
Which is also really good.
Yeah, this was also my first book that I read in this run. Was the was Tower of Babel, because Matt and I were talking about this the other day, but we were talking about when we were getting back into comic books, and we both basically went online and were like, what are the top 25 Batman books? Because we like Batman, and so we were like, how do we get back into comics reading Batman? And this shows up in the list of top 25 Batman books from probably like 2005 when we were both getting back into comics.
Yeah.
And so I read it prior to reading. I had read I picked up like some issues, but this was the first trade I had read, and so this was my introduction to the modern Justice League too. I think you get a good feel of the characters, and they're interesting enough that you want to see what happens next, which is why I think it's a good story. And I think that the rest of the trades in this run are more dependent on the books that come before and after. Like, they're more a part of a series, and this feels like it sort of stands alone in a weird way. I don't know.
I don't know necessarily if it does, but I mean, I will give you that. You can read this without knowing the other stuff, and it is good.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily agree that it stands completely on its own. I would not have enjoyed this as much if I hadn't read some of the other stuff first.
Yeah, I just think that the other stuff is even less independent than this book is.
Oh, no, it absolutely is.
It definitely has a beginning, middle, and end as a story.
Yeah.
But having not read the rest of this volume of Justice League,
yeah,
I felt really left cold by this. Like, I feel like I needed that contrast of seeing them work together for them breaking up to really have an impact.
But, I mean, you've watched Justice League,
Yes,
the cartoon, and Justice League Unlimited, so you like know how the Justice League is supposed to function.
Right, I do, but that's not necessarily the same as this Justice League, because that is a separate continuity.
they are different, and they do have different members. Like, they have Jon Stewart's in the show rather than Kyle. I think that if you know how, or imagine how a super team is supposed to work together, which is they work together well to take down bad guy exterior threats, then I think this is interesting because it's sort of an interior threat. And I really like the ending where each Justice League member basically gets to make their argument as to why Batman should or shouldn't be allowed in the League, because I think each of those little monologues tell you a lot about that character.
Yeah.
You know?
And I didn't really like that. Sorry, I'm quiet for some reason.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that because one of the core strengths of the Justice League that I grew up with was that they will stand by each other no matter what. They will deal with things no matter what, and them kicking Batman out, it just would not happen.
Well, what I think is interesting is that several times in this book they bring up the fact that, like, the League stands by each other, and then it falls apart. Like, it's almost foreshadowing the fact that it can't really last. Like, this team of it's kind of what Mark Millar was trying to do with Ultimates, being like, if a group of superpowered people got together, they wouldn't work together properly. They would all be assholes. But, like, this does it in a much more believable way, in a much more enjoyable way than just like, hey, look at these dickheads.
Definitely anything not done by Mark Millar is better than anything done by Mark Millar.
Yeah, well, and this is not just somebody that isn't Mark Millar. This is one of the greatest comic book writers to ever live.
Which is part of the reason why I was so disappointed in this story, because really Mark Waid knows better than this.
I think this is a fantastic Mark Waid story.
I disagree entirely.
We've established that your Mark Waid credentials are nowhere near to be disappointed in him.
Well, like, you guys were talking about this off the show, and I know about it.
Yeah, and I think the thing is this. It's very easy to read, because Mark Waid has written things like Birthright, like Kingdom Come, and things of that nature that are these milestones in the DC universe. And because even his stuff on, like, Daredevil has been very good, it's easy to forget that the man's been writing comics for a long time, and there's fluctuations. He has tropes. You know, this JLA reminds me a lot more of his Fantastic Four stuff than it does, or his Flash stuff, than it does, like, his more modern stuff where he actually had kind of more. I feel like he had much more invested. When he wrote Kingdom Come, he wrote that with a specific purpose in mind.
And the things about things like Birthright, Kingdom Come, Empire, Incorruptible, stuff like that he's playing with toys, and we know what toys they are because they're pretty obvious, but they don't affect continuity in any way. Every single one of those stories is either published by another company or an Elseworld story, in which he can pull out all the stops and do crazy shit.
Yeah, and he's got
this book is a very constrained Mark Waid. Like most of his continuity comic work, he's under editorial constraint, and it feels a lot different. This feels like him writing comic books rather than him writing about comics, using comics as a medium.
It's writing comic books instead of writing meta commentary,
right?
Which I think he excels at. I mean, the man has an understanding of the comic universe he writes in, but I think even that translates some way to Daredevil. Where the writing of Daredevil for Marvel now is kind of a meta commentary on the last. How long has it been?
Well,
5, 6, 7 years.
Or just pre-Marvel now.
Yeah, on the Daredevil of pre-Marvel now, where you had Bendis and Brubaker just writing the same stuff that
they were doing Frank Miller's Daredevil still.
Yeah. And it's great. And Frank Miller's run on Daredevil is great. It's defining. Do something else. And that's what Mark Waid has come in and
But even Mark
done.
Waid's run on Daredevil, although I totally love it and think it's a great place to read Daredevil, there are still stories in that series and I'm like, I'm not really that into this part of it. There's stuff that drags on for way too long because it's comic books, and that's kind of how they work. The data disc Fantastic Four thing that goes through 30 issues of that book. By the time that even becomes close to being resolved, I'm like, I wish there was a new story happening now. There are just problems with serialized comics as a medium, I think. And I think that even Mark Waid, who is a fantastic writer, cannot escape from writing serialized comics. You just fall into these, traps. And also, I'm not at all surprised that you don't like this book that much, Toby, because superhero books aren't really your bread and butter. You're not really overly fond of them.
I would not say that I'm a superhero fan, but I certainly read enough superhero comics and enjoy them to feel like I can legitimately level an opinion about something.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying your opinion isn't valid. I'm just saying, it doesn't surprise me because superheroes, although you do like some of them, you're... Well,
no, I like good superhero books. Yeah. There just aren't a lot of them.
That, which is also true. But there's also, if you had to pick whether you were going to read independent books or mainstream superhero titles for the rest of your life, I think we would
independent books, but it's not because it's I find superheroes laughable just in their premise. It's because most superhero books are work for hire.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily there's something that the writer is passionate about. It's I've been hired to do this book, so I'm going to write these stories, and I'm going to get paid for it. I'm going to get paid a hell of a lot better than what I would have made as an independent writer, which is what the case has been for many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
And when somebody's working on an indie title, my opinion going into it is that this is something that they care about. This is a story that they really want to write. And they're going to put more love and attention into it than whatever hack work they pick up at one of the big two.
Well, and they have more control over it because they're their characters and they can kill those characters if they want to. And this is Mark Waid under editorial constraint. It's not an Elseworld story. He can't just, make Superman and Wonder Woman have a baby together at the end.
But that's not my problem with this book.
What isn't?
Okay. I mean, my problem with this book doesn't stem from the fact that this is the JLA and he can't mess with them too much, or that he's got certain editorial constraints on him. I honestly think that he did a bad job with this story.
What are your points of contention? And then let's list them off.
Okay, so the first one, and this is just a stylistic thing, and I understand that maybe it's a holdover from an older style of doing comics, but still, this was written in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Way too many fucking narration boxes. Way too many. I honestly felt like there were pages where I was just drowning in all the fucking narration boxes. Mm-hmm. It honestly really bothered me. Number 2, Ra's al Ghul's plan is laughably inept. I mean, this is somebody who's supposed to be a genius-level strategist who is hundreds of years old, has a group of fanatical followers who will do everything he says. Like, he's not somebody who's going to rush a plan or go in half-cocked. Like, he's got every stratagem planned out, fucking 6 moves ahead. I mean, he is the evil Batman in many ways.
Right.
And our first introduction to him in the story is that one of his minions has fed a rare endangered tiger chocolate, and the tiger is now dead. And so Ra's al Ghul has sentenced him to die himself.
Right.
Why did he put that guy in charge of the tiger in the first place? Who obviously has no fucking clue about animals. That he was giving this thing chocolate because he thought that that the tiger would like it.
Well, he's not in charge.
I fucking know not to give that tiger chocolate. Like, why was that guy let anywhere near that tiger for even a second? If I'm Ra's al Ghul and I'm trying to save this fucking tiger, I get the fucking best veterinary people in the world that I can get. And they and only they are allowed to do anything with this tiger. It's like at the very beginning of the book. Because I see you flipping through it.
Yeah, I am flipping through it. Because it's a kid. He's like a kid that
he does not look like a kid.
He looks like a kid in the first one.
He looks fairly...
He's pretty young.
I mean...
And also...
well, you kidnap a veterinarian or someone who's going to go noticed. So if Ra's al Ghul's smart enough, he's not going to take people that, he can't just like kidnap people and force them to work for him. I mean, he could, but of course any supervillain ever has had henchmen to some degree.
Okay, he has a goatee. He is not a child.
No, I don't think he does.
He does it. That could be a shadow.
No, I think that's a shadow because he doesn't have it here or here. There's no indication. I was looking at that earlier, and if you look at him, Ubu's holding him the way Ubu's holding him. It's entirely possible that that's a shadow.
In any case,
like, anyway, it does say it is your job to look after him, but which is like okay,
like why is that person in charge of that guy?
Because Ra's is busy.
It's like
he doesn't lead. He does not lead.
He's like, this species is now going to.
Yeah. He doesn't lead the League of Veterinarians. These are the League of Assassins. I'm not surprised that things died in their care.
He did. That was his first failed attempt at
the League of Veterinarians.
But then even beyond that, like his entire plan to basically get the Justice League out of the way and also like kill all of these people with his like language scrambling device. He goes about that in the worst possible way because it obviously has 2 settings, one that scrambles the ability to recognize written words and then one that scrambles the ability to understand spoken words. And he fucking turns on one and then he waits several hours or like a day to turn it up to like setting number 2. When really he should have activated it on setting 2 to fucking begin with.
I think that is definitely a fault of the serialized nature of the comic because the first one happens as a cliffhanger to one issue and the next one happens as a cliffhanger to the next issue. It's like it's super serialized and stuff like that, which are kind of dumb plot points, happen because of the serialized nature of the comic. It's like you have to be able to crank his plan up from like, oh, it's at 10 and now he goes to 11 because you don't know that he can do that until later, right? And so you're like,
okay. But then on top of that, like he's like, I'm going to take out Martian Manhunter first, and then I'm going to turn on my device, and then I'm going to go get this like other couple of people, and then I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to turn the device up more. It's like, if you actually wanted to succeed at your plan, you would have multiple strike teams in place ready to take down the Justice League members, and you would turn on your device simultaneously with all of your strike team attacking the Justice League, instead of attacking them like one at a time and giving them a chance to like actually go find the other members when they can still talk to each other and communicate. Like, you would disrupt all of their communication at once, and then you would take them all down simultaneously.
See, what I got
Are you arguing that he doesn't have the resources to have more than one strike team?
Maybe.
What I think it is he knows Batman so well, and Batman is what he considers his number one threat. He could have, done an all-out full frontal attack, but what I got from it was Batman would have obviously known it was Ra's al Ghul at that point. Like, if suddenly all communications are down instantly, he would have instantly gone right for him.
That's what I think. But the thing is that he found out about him anyway.
Well, of course he's going to.
He found out about him by looking at a manifest.
But after systematic destruction of everyone else, right?
But Ra's wants Batman.
Hadn't turned on the
he's
device
going to find out.
Ra's wants him to find. Ra's, he knows that Batman's going to know that he has his parents. Batman, he does that whole thing to take Batman out of commission, and he does take them out together. He takes out Martian Manhunter, then he takes out fucking Aquaman and Plastic Man, and then he takes out the 4 remaining ones right on top of each other. He takes out Green Lantern, and then when Flash and Wonder Woman come to get him, he takes them out too.
And then Superman shows up,
and then Superman shows up, and they take out him
those
too.
4 all at the same time.
So it's like, I mean, yeah, we could say that the problem I have with that is that it's like, you could say, well, yeah, like Ra's al Ghul, he's just got like infinite numbers of incredibly highly trained shock troops that are ready to take on gods.
He doesn't need an infinite number. He needs maybe 30.
And maybe all he had was 1.
He's also
which makes total fucking sense to me.
Yeah, I think that you're also pumping Ra's al Ghul up to be like some kind of master level criminal because he's not a Justice League villain.
No, right, well, that's the thing, is that he's not a master level criminal. He doesn't even fucking care about crimes. Like, in the really good Ra's al Ghul stories, he's a David Xanatos character. Like, he's got this fucking objective that's way off in fucking space. Mm-hmm. And then he's got all of these lesser objectives that he is pretending to go for, and maybe they'll succeed and he'll get something out of it, but probably Batman will ruin it. And it's like, oh, look, Batman, you foiled all of my criminal schemes, and then I did this other thing in the background.
That's what he's doing in this.
Yeah, but what does he accomplish? Nothing.
All he's trying to do is do a biochemical strike on the
He actually does.
What he's trying to do is reduce the human population, and he does a shitty job of it.
He's trying to start a war because
people die because of what he does. He is partially successful.
Well, and what he's trying to do is create a demand for himself as a warlord by starting wars. Like, war, he needs perpetual war.
I maintain that he could have done so much of a better job.
But what is his objective in your mind? Is it to kill the Justice League? Because
that would certainly be a good start. It would help with all of his other objectives.
But he had to be realistic enough to know that Waid cannot let him kill the Justice League. That's my argument.
Which is why he shouldn't have done this story in this way. He should have written it in a better way.
I don't think you should have done. Right there, you've just fucking negated.
If we look at what's the end game of this book, Batman is discredited.
Yeah,
that's to me what the whole point.
And not
was.
just
Batman is discredited.
Not just fucking Batman, but Robin and Nightwing and Oracle. They're all fucking discredited. Because
to me, that's obviously the whole point.
I'm going to skip ahead.
Which that epilogue was not actually in the single issues,
right?
And so I had not read it until I sat down here.
Oh yeah,
in this book.
Yeah, the epilogue's in the trade.
I'm going to skip ahead because I could do more. But the last point that I want to make is that I think that the Justice League is 100% wrong for kicking Batman out. Batman was entirely right to have those plans in place and to not tell anybody about them. And the fact that they were being all bitchy and whiny about, oh my god, this guy doesn't trust me, and how can I be on a team with blah, 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 trust, ooh. Like, you're talking about people who could individually do massive fucking harm to this planet. And Batman is like, I'm going to make sure that there's a contingency plan in place, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that there's no way that you can subvert that contingency plan. So, of course, I didn't tell you about it. Obviously. If they weren't such whiny little bitch babies about it, none of this other shit would have happened.
I feel like what I take away from this is that if I were to have a superhero team, I would never invite Toby to be on it.
I completely agree with Toby 110%.
Thank you.
And it makes an interesting story because Batman the reason that this story is interesting to me is because the Justice League is fallible. And that's what's important here. It's like the Justice League isn't... There's so many stories about the Justice League in the DC universe as like... as just these paragons of good. And sometimes they make mistakes. And there are many arguable mistakes in the DC universe. Like, why do they let the Joker live? Why do they and I think books like The Authority and books like Incorruptible and books like Invincible and many books after that have questioned what the DC universe's policy of good versus evil does in a comic book universe. I think this is Mark Waid doing it again in the DC universe while maintaining continuity.
And I think that's a great idea and a great story to tell. I just think that he did not do a good job of telling it.
I think he did a great job. I think that
this is not a story about Ra's al Ghul. This is not, at its heart, this is a story about Batman's paranoia and the fact that because he is paranoid, he cannot be a member of a team. It's not that he doesn't tell the Justice League that he's
If the story is about Batman and his paranoia, the effective story to tell is one in which Batman's paranoia goes rampant and he does all of those things to his teammates because he can't trust them.
No, I disagree.
Ra's al Ghul took his plan and then enacted it in a shitty way.
But again,
I disagree completely.
How do you get out of that, though? Like, how do you push the reset button?
Yeah, you can't have Batman do that and be a hero after that.
Maybe you
mind control. Like, it just becomes equally
maybe
shitty.
You
of like
5
somebody
years
body
stories
switched him
about Batman slowly,
Yeah,
but they don't have
they won't do that.
Maybe you have an editor that pulls you off this book and puts you on another book. Because I made that same fucking argument about Thor, and you told me it wasn't a good argument. I said, this is a storyline you set up over 4 years, and you're like, but you don't know how long it's going to be on the book. And that's exactly the thing. Mark Waid had the opportunity to tell this story, and he fucking told it. And it's an important one because Batman is a fucking dick. He is a dick. All right? He's only ever 5 seconds away from going on a fucking, like, the emo fucking spree where he doesn't want to talk to anybody and all he wants to do is
He's
be
quit
Batman.
Before. He started the Icelanders.
Because all he cares about is selfish. This isn't about Batman.
And I would love to read that story, but
you
this
did.
wasn't it.
You did. You totally did. This is
about fucking just plot holes in the story ruined it for me, and I couldn't appreciate it.
You missed all of the good stuff because you were mad about a guy that gave a tiger some chocolate. And this was a great book, and you got upset because of like what's sad to me is everything that's good that happens in this book, to me, happens after the Ra's al Ghul stuff is resolved. Like, Ra's al Ghul isn't really doing what he is in this book is a vehicle for cool interactions between Justice League characters.
Yeah.
Like the examples that I've given about, Martian Manhunter and Aquaman and just like Plastic Man using his tiny long finger thing.
Superman gives Batman the kryptonite ring that Lex Luthor used to have. That's one of my all-time favorite scenes between the two of them. Yeah. It's like, I trust you to take me out. That's that's why something like this is so powerful to me. It's like, this can kill me. I trust you to weld it in a way that won't, because if I give it to someone like Wonder Woman, she might just behead me and full-on kill me.
Yeah, and what did Batman do with that? He took something that was lethal to Superman and turned it into something that would incapacitate him for a period of time.
Yeah,
which was exactly the right
difference
move.
Between the two is that, like, I'm telling you this, I'm coming into your cave, like, and that's part of that Superman's thing, is he's a bit naive and he's very trusting, maybe to a fault, but, like, Batman, like, can't be that guy.
No,
and the fact that Superman ultimately voted to throw Batman out, I think.
Well, he didn't.
Yeah, he left.
He never votes.
Yeah. No, he does, but he admits.
Superman admits later that he would have voted that way, and that's the whole thing that he says is he knew how it would go down before we even voted. He knew how it was going to go down, and that's why he left.
Right, but
because he knew that the vote would be against him.
Well, it's again Batman's paranoia that he would just assume that the league would kick him out.
But he was right.
This is how much of a fucking little baby Batman can be, right? He doesn't even have the balls to stick around and fucking hear the verdict. He leaves. This is not about Batman. This is not about Batman going, this is for the good of the world that I have these plans. Right? Because if Batman was that kind of character, the whole Justice League would have had his back. This is about Batman saying, fuck you, I'm doing my own thing, and maybe if your need is great enough, I'll show up and help you out.
And
he's a selfish,
shitty writing of Batman.
I don't. And this was voted like 21 in the top 25 Batman stories.
Well,
in the same way that Kingdom Come is kind of like a secret, like, awesome Superman story, this is the same thing, like, with Batman.
Yeah.
It's really a Batman
story.
I
don't care for that version of the character. I don't think it's true to what I like about Batman.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're incredibly, excruciatingly wrong. No, I'm not. We yell a lot at each other at this show. This has been the loudest episode in a while.
Would never have happened.
I feel like I've been louder than I usually am.
Well, we hadn't torn up in a while. I think we need to get in there and mix it up.
You guys have mentioned in the show, I think it was just whatever one I just listened to this morning, this is the kind of book that sets the stage for Identity Crisis.
Yeah.
The cracks are starting to show. This leads the stage for OMAC Project, which is just another, like, hey, Batman is just mental.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love all those stories.
Right.
But to me, this is why this book is so important, is like, I view it, this is the beginning of that.
Right.
And this opened the door for a lot of shit that would happen later.
And I also think that it's just a great critique of the Justice League, of, like, they're not, and this modern Justice League, it wouldn't have worked with Hal Jordan and Barry Allen and and not Plastic Man.
So Justice League Doom, the cartoon movie that they did, where they whitewashed everything, that was bad. I was so disappointed in that.
That was bad.
That was bad.
That was bad.
That was 90% the same story.
No, it was not even
They changed quite a bit. Even the characters were different.
Yeah.
The problem that I have is, like, these guys aren't experienced enough to make the right decision when it comes to, should we have someone on our team that's willing to keep us in check? Too many of them vote, no, we shouldn't be in check, and that's wrong. They're wrong.
Well,
I agree with Toby.
So going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the episode, like, I wish that this book was more like Invincible, which is a independent, creator-owned superhero comic book where Robert Kirkman can take the time to develop stories over a long period of time and make it really interesting. And I wish that this story could have been told over a much longer period with much more of a character focus and really taken the time to do it right.
Creator-controlled characters so that characters could die, consequences could happen. I 100% agree with you.
That would be great.
I wish all comic books were
Marvel
creator-owned,
DC will never allow that, but it would
comics.
be great. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. That's what I love. That's what we love about Invincible is, like, every single character in Invincible could die, and Invincible could, like, fart out a wormhole that leads to another dimension of all of Invincibles, but they're all ladies, and then the story just continues that, because, like, nothing is off limits in that universe.
Wrote that. Yeah, that's not like what?
That was in an Alan Moore. No,
Alan Moore's Invincible.
Like that, nothing is off limits there, and
Exactly.
like what happens here is he's telling the story to the best of his abilities with the constraints that he has, which is, it has to be a 4-issue story.
Can we just say with DC editorial, like, now, we can rewind the clock a little bit and say it's a miracle a book like this even happened, because Batman looks like an asshole in this story. Yeah. Everyone knows Batman's the big moneymaker, so the fact that they even made this story, I'm impressed by.
Well, and this is the deal as editors. So.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I like about it is that he does look like an asshole. It's the same thing I like about Murderer Fugitive.
Yeah,
where he
also looks like a word that's pejorative and I shouldn't use on the air, because the one other thing that I wanted to say is that I found the art actually kind of shitty through a large part of this book.
I think that the art in this series is very transitional between 90s art and 2000s art, and I feel that way for most of this Justice League run.
There's a face that Batman makes in this comic that has turned into an internet meme because it is so ridiculous.
There's some faces just in general in this book that I can't tell they're so contorted.
It's the one where Ra's al Ghul reveals that he has Batman's parents' coffins over the Lazarus pit. And Batman just has this, like, slack-jawed look with his eyes are all buggy.
Yeah, that was pretty. My favorite is the one where Superman like reads the paper for the first time, and it's just Clark with his mouth like wide open and his eyes real big. Like I can't praise the art in this book. I think the front inner cover has Aquaman with his eyes bulging because he's looking at stuff. I can't really praise the art in this book. I think that issue 42 where they go to the into the microbe world.
That's great.
I think that art is pretty strong.
I think that is really
but I think that one of the major things that this book could have used was an artist who can capture facial expressions stronger, because you can't feel a lot of the emotion of some of the characters. Like Ra's al Ghul looks really weird all the time.
Okay, well, they've also got page that I'm talking about is at the beginning of issue 44, which is part 2 of Tower of Babel. And Batman is making this slack-jawed face in the bottom. But if you actually look real closely, the even funnier one is at the top of the page, which is real small, where he's doing that, like, classic Bela Lugosi, like one arm up with the cape in front of him and making the same ridiculous face. Which was just, I had to laugh at how ridiculously bad it was.
And right previous to that, the very beginning of this book, when he discovers that his parents' coffins are missing, an equally hilarious Bruce Wayne face is happening. Like, there's all of the facial expressions feel like very overdone in this book.
But the
art is okay.
I mean, there's like 5 or 6 different artists on this, because like this whole part is not this page, but
the art. I think the art. There are some moments that are really interesting, and I think that there are a lot of moments that aren't quite there yet. And again, I feel like this is because they're just, it's work for hire artists at DC, and
I guess I just feel like I expect more from Mark Waid.
I I don't know that I expect more from Mark Waid, or if I just expect more from DC in letting storytellers tell the stories they want to tell, because I think this has all of the same problems that a lot of continuity superhero DC stories have. And I don't know that it's fair to judge Mark Waid on a higher level than those guys, than everybody else writing DC Comics, because even though he's a better writer than those guys, he's still dealing with all the editorial bullshit and the time constraints and the fact that he wrote, 50 issues of this run, and also, he's written, massive runs, and not all of his books are going to be hits. And also, for him, this probably wasn't, I'm going to write a crowning book of my career, Tower of Babel. It was what should I do in issue 43? He's already been writing this book for a while, and is trying to come up with stuff.
Now, this is Mark Waid coming onto the book, because it's Morrison, and then there's that one intermediary issue with a different creative team on it, and then Mark Waid comes on.
I thought Morrison left at 25.
No, Morrison wrote up until 42.
No, because there's somebody else between Morrison and Waid.
Maybe the person who was on there was on longer, but issue 42 is not Mark Waid.
Yeah, the person who wrote
is.
40. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark Waid took over at 43.
Okay, but he is coming onto this book and then continuing to write this book.
Yeah. Okay. So on 42, Dan Curtis Johnson is credited as guest writer.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I thought that...
So maybe Waid was on it before 42 and he took a month off, but I thought that this was him coming on to the book.
I was pretty sure
think
that...
it is. I'll have to look to remember, and everybody at home
we need
just
internet
Google
here.
This before Joe's got internet. But I think that your complaints are valid, but I think that they're the same complaints that I whitewash apply to almost every superhero book from the early 2000s.
I mean, maybe it was just a matter of that I have had this book talked up to me for so long that I felt really let down by it.
I still think it's a great book. I still recommend this people to
I think it's a great concept. I just don't think it was executed well.
I mean, I do have problems with it.
I do too.
But overall, I think it was good. And I think that... I mean, I kind of agree with both of you. Yes, Mark Waid could do better, but at the same time, he's doing a hell lot better than some of the other writers on this book.
I still think that this JLA run is insanely strong for what was going on at comics at the time in the 2000s.
So this is Mark Waid's first.
This is the first issue.
This is the first
what I
step.
thought.
But he and Morrison worked together on the relaunch of JLA, and Waid wrote the run. He wrote Kingdom Come, and then he wrote a book called JLA Midsummer Nightmare, which led into Morrison's reboot of JLA.
Okay.
Which I have, and it's good. I've thought about
Midsummer Nightmare is one that we're going to have to talk about. Yeah, and so Porter actually only did this run, apparently. Brian Hitch, actually, from The Authority, would come in afterwards.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So...
but Morrison still left at 20 in the early 20s, right? There was another...
Hold on, I will look.
Okay.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Maddox? Because you've been relatively quiet.
I wanted to let you guys do your thing. In rereading this, because initially... When I got hired at the shop a couple years back, this was actually required reading. It was still in print at the time. DC and their Infinite Wisdom has since it's out of print at the moment.
Was it required reading, or did it just hand it to you and make you?
It was basically like you need to. It was this and Barry Ween and a couple other things were like, read this, you'll love them. And yeah, I really enjoyed it the first time around. I read the entire trade. This this morning I read just the 4 Tower Babel issues because I wanted to see if they could stand on their own. Personally, I felt like they did. I enjoyed them just reading just the 4 issues myself. I don't know what I can say that I haven't already said. I really enjoyed it because I like Batman. I think Batman's cool, but I'm way more of a Superman fan, and I like that Batman comes across like an asshole and a crazy asshole at that. Because I think Batman is a crazy asshole.
He's a crazy
asshole. I love
asshole.
Batman. I think he's cool. I have a ton of Batman books in my collection, but I
think that this is that modern age Batman. This is that Frank Miller's crazy asshole.
This is what you
Batman.
get. This is exactly what you would get. But I think that's cool because that makes them more human, and I think the way they all react is fairly human. Like I come in from Marvel Comics, when they're done right, you got Peter Parker, he can be a bit emo, maybe a lot emo, but those characters, Tony Stark, all those guys, they have flaws, and that's part of why they're so strong as characters. And it's like, wow, it's amazing that you can even put that armor on and go out and punch the Mandarin in the face.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm amazed you can walk right now. Or like the turnoff when I was a kid with the Justice League and DC just in general was they were all like these epic godlike creations, and like I couldn't relate in any way. And I know at least since post-Crisis, they've quote unquote Marvelized the characters more, which to me I find more appealing. I like when the characters have flaws, and so a book like this to me is right up my alley.
I feel like any good character should have flaws.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I feel like it was weird that they didn't pre-Crisis, but it was because they were written for a much younger audience, and like they were attempting to age their audience with the Crisis on Infinite Earths and with the reboot. I feel like they were really trying to tell stories that readers who weren't 8 would really enjoy, and I think that the Silver Age and the Bronze Age have great stories, and I love those stories, definitely. But there's also just so many stories in there that are like in no way exciting.
Well, especially the old Justice League, you read some of that stuff and they're great, but they all have the same personality. If you read a story from like the 60s, like, hey chum, hey pal, hey buddy, and it's just like they're different costumes talking, but like they all are the same. You can't tell Green Arrow apart from Batman or any of them in some of those stories. And I've read a ton of them, and I love them for what they are.
Oh yeah, me too.
But yeah, like to this, the small character moments in this, I felt were really spot on. Yeah. Like I've read a ton of Wally West Flash. It's one of my all-time favorites, and of course being Waid, he's gonna obviously nail that, but then like the little moments with like Wonder Woman and Aquaman, all of that, I really enjoyed all those little tiny interactions, like you'd already touched on. I like seeing like who's buddy, who maybe there's some animosity between them, who's more likely to hang out, like because like I'm a big longtime X-Men fan, and they'll just like play baseball for half of an issue, and you know what I mean. Like you'll see like them talking,
and the thing about the Marvel characters back in the day was that even though these were team books, they were constantly infighting.
All the time.
And that was something that Marvel had that was different than DC. And
definitely.
But I think it also is more realistic. I think that anytime you have a team of people with very conflicting views on how justice should be served, like Wonder Woman and Superman don't agree on how justice, and like that's what I think was so strong about Kingdom Come. That's why it's one of my favorite Wonder Woman Superman relationship portrayals, is because they constantly are disagreeing. And I think that Superman and Batman are the same way, but they all are shooting for the same goal, which is to make the world a better place. They just disagree about how to go about it, and that's why I think it's so interesting, because I'm with Toby on this. Like I agree that someone has to keep them in check. And the fact that they don't recognize that shows how inexperienced and flawed the league is,
and how much of that is their ego too.
Oh,
like
sure.
there's I would never. Yeah, like it's total hubris.
But that's so characteristic of Aquaman. As a character who was the worst Justice League leader of all time.
Justice League Detroit, baby.
Well, not only was he leading a shitty league, but he's a shitty leader.
He got half of them killed, didn't he? I mean,
his ability to teach people was entirely dependent on could he sneak up on them and punch them in the stomach when they weren't expecting it, and be like, always be prepared. And you're like, you're the worst gym teacher.
Gypsy. Got you that time.
The worst gym teacher ever is basically what Aquaman was.
I do want to say one thing, though, in response to what you were saying, Mannix, about the crazy asshole Batman, because I hate that Batman. I don't recognize him as Batman. Because the Batman I grew up on was the Batman from the animated series.
Oh, my all-time favorite.
Wasn't a crazy asshole. Like, he was Batman. Like, he always had plans, and he wanted to be like very certain that things would happen, and like he was never really caught up in this idea of like, oh, I'm a superhero, I have to be like morally superior to everybody, and yada yada yada. Like, he was willing to get down and play dirty if he had to, but he wasn't an asshole.
Well, I don't think that he's an asshole in this book as so much as he believes what he's doing 100% is right, and he's willing to see no other way to do it. And I think that one thing that the animated series has over the mainstream continuity is, in the animated series, up until Justice League, he's not really dealing with other superheroes all the time. And this book
he can control that environment a lot more.
Well, and he's dealing with the level of threat that he can deal with.
And in this book, you see the similarities between between Batman and Lex Luthor, and I think that those are really awesome similarities that need to be explored more in comics, because Lex doesn't trust Superman because Superman can do anything. That's the same reason that Batman doesn't trust him.
That's what Batman even says in this book. He mentions when they traded bodies and they refer to a different story.
Yeah.
And he's like, I knew in that moment because I tasted like your power, and like so he, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like he realized in that moment how out of his league he would be, and like I couldn't stop you if I didn't have some contingencies in place.
Even at the end of Justice League Unlimited, like after they've been a team for at this point years. Like, Superman says to Darkseid, who's like, how could you, Batman, possibly hope to stand up against me? Superman's like, because he'll never quit. Nobody on my team will. Like, right. I believe that every single one of them will have my back for as far as it takes.
And I think
to beat you.
My secondary...
And that's the Batman that I believe in.
My secondary argument to that, my counter-argument to that, is that show is really designed for a young audience, and so many of the characters don't have the depth that the characters in the comic book series have. And I think that some of the depth of Batman's character is that he is paranoid. He's paranoid.
Absolutely.
And there is some element of craziness to a man who would dress up in a costume like that and go out and fight crime. When he has no superpowers, on the same team as people that could look at him and literally kill him.
I think Batman is definitely one of my favorite comic book characters. And he's a character that's incredibly easy to romanticize, and Morrison does this all the time. Mm-hmm. Especially in his part of this run, where there's one where like they've woken up, I think it leads into one, it's right before DC 1 million or something, where they pretty much have awakened this ancient god from beyond the dawn of time. And I mean, it's literally a thing where it's like, they call Batman, it's like, yeah, I've got a plan, it's all good. And then it's all taken care of. And I'm like, that to me, I can appreciate that. And I mean, there's the whole joke about what like Greg Ruckus said, and like he attributed the quote to somebody else, but if you gave Batman 6 months in a spoon, he could beat Galactus. And it's like, yeah, that's all well and good and everything, but if you can't acknowledge the fact,
like one issue though.
What?
It only took Reed Richards like one issue though.
Well, but he had help from Uatu. That's not fair.
Ignore me.
An all-knowing being comes down and says, "Just point this at him, he'll go away." That's not beating him.
Oh, it is.
That's cheating.
Reed took credit for it though. You know he did.
No doubt.
Later Reed's like, "I came up with this. This is my idea."
If you had been up on your game, you would have talked about what he does in Earth X and how cool that shit is.
Well, I don't want to spoil it, guys. Go back and listen to Earth X.
Yeah, go back and listen to this. But I think that the fact that Batman is crazy, because he is. I mean, and it doesn't matter if you want to acknowledge this or not. That is an essential. He is a man that dresses up as a giant bat and beats the shit out of people. There's something inherently insane in that.
Well, I think
you can look at Superman and not attribute that to him because he can't be hurt by anything we have.
I disagree, though, with Joe that isn't an inherent part of the Batman character. I think that's the characterization of the modern age Batman, because stories like Dark Knight Returns, Arkham Asylum, and The Killing Joke have really like upped the level of Batman's like paranoia and craziness. Well, like those books examine that idea really heavily, but I don't think that every iteration of Batman has to be paranoid and crazy.
No.
But I do think that a Batman that's on the same team as a Superman and a Green Lantern and a Wonder Woman, the level of paranoia is going to be higher than when he works in Gotham.
I was working my way to that. I mean, I think you can argue with me about this, but Bruce Wayne is a man. He is a man that is susceptible to bullets and getting hit by cars and being, electrocuted and all manner of things, right? That puts himself in harm's way consistently and constantly because he feels like he is the only person that is able to like really protect the citizens of Gotham, right? Now, and from there it's just a series of escalations. What makes Batman so interesting to me is that his paranoia does not come from a place where he can be beaten. It comes from a place that he will not be good enough to protect the people he cares about. And that's what makes him interesting. And when you look at the fact that even if he hadn't told anybody else, the fact that he couldn't go to Superman and just say, listen, I've got it taken care of. Because that's all he would have needed to say. I've got it taken care of. That's it. He wouldn't have had to tell him a plan or anything, because that's it. Just that little show of trust speaks to the fact that Batman, he considers himself an island. He doesn't tell them because he doesn't think he needs them. Because to let them in would be a monumental effort that he can't deal with. He cannot deal with relationships with people.
This is exactly. We did a Superman episode on Out of the Fridge, and the easiest counterpoint is Batman to me. And the thing that I always said is, people always say they can relate to Batman, and that always weirds me out. Like, no, you can't.
No,
I think you think that because he's a human guy on the team, and so but you're not thinking this through. Like, Bruce Wayne died when his parents died. He's emotionally dead. If you think about it, Alfred's the closest thing to a loved one he has. Even Alfred, he doesn't let in fully. Like, no one in his life.
Even his kids,
like Dick, like the Robins are his kids. Even then, like Catwoman. How many times have we seen this in a story? Like, and he said Sylvia St. Cloud and other romantic relationships, but like Catwoman's probably the one they go to the most. Most recently, I think in Hush, maybe they've done it since, but it's like they'll hook up, and it's like it's going well, and he'll always push her away and be like, "Oh, it's because you're a criminal," and that's bullshit.
Yeah,
like that's
bullshit.
his fucking excuse, because he can't let her in, because he can't let anyone in. The armor's always up.
It's the same reason he'll lock Robin out of the bat cave, saying you're not good enough. Because what he's saying is not you're not good enough. He's saying I cannot deal if I fail.
Yeah.
Well, I also really think that there's an interesting story that could be explored with Batman too, because the pre-crisis Batman, the Silver Age Batman, was the same way. Like, he didn't let a lot of people in, and like even though he was friends with Superman and was out in the daytime more, he still never had a wife or kids or relationship or any of that. But Earth 2's Batman did have a wife and kids, and it was Selena Kyle, and his daughter was Huntress, and like he had that family.
I love the original.
And there was always this like weird tension between the Batman of Earth 1, where he couldn't have a family and have happiness because he was like, I can't let anyone in. But then there was in an alternate universe, like it was successful, and I think that story of like there are different ways to tell Batman's story. There are different ways that can work, and sometimes Batman's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that he's wrong about. And I like it when he's wrong. Because I don't like any character to be infallible.
He is 1,000 times more interesting when he's wrong.
Well, I think every character needs some kind of flaw, and being wrong is a very easy flaw to have.
Yeah.
Everybody has been wrong at least once in their life. Even Toby and even Joe.
That's true.
We have recorded proof of both of
I
us.
hate to admit it, but
sometimes you're wrong, and I think that makes a character interesting. And I think that a lot of characters are wrong in a lot of ways in this book,
and it's one of the most fulfilling moments in like most of my favorite Batman stories has a moment like that in it, because it's an incredibly powerful moment when he owns up to it and he looks at like Nightwing or Oracle and says, I was wrong.
Well, go back and listen to Venom if you haven't listened to that. Yeah, we talk a lot about Batman.
Another good example is Batman the Cult, where he loses his vision and stuff, and he's like, Robin, I can't do this, and Robin comes in and saves him.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome.
That is a great one. That's Jim Starlin?
Starlin, yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. That's also
the print too, DC.
I got it from you.
You did get it from me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's lovely.
I've recommended it before, but
that's a great one.
It's a great Batman story.
Yeah. Toby, anything you wanted to add before we
go
to Rex?
I just wanted to say that I thought that Batman was most interesting when he was Dick Grayson and Damian was Robin.
I thought
that was an incredibly interesting inversion of the character relationship between Batman and Robin. And I thought that Dick Grayson was incredibly interesting as a different kind of Batman with different strengths and different weaknesses.
One of my favorite stories was the Black Mirror, the Scott Snyder, right before it was the last 11 issues of Detective Comics before the New 52 relaunch, and it was Dick Grayson at that point. At that point, Batman had already come back, but he started Batman Inc. He's like, you've got Gotham, you're doing awesome, so I'm gonna go get Japanese Batman and all these other countries going like Batwing and but there's this awesome scene where. Because, Dick is taller, he's thinner, he's an aerialist, so there's some of the form and stuff.
They fight
the guy, his villains are such the thing I love about Batman is like they have such an intimate knowledge of each other, like especially the Joker, but like all these guys, Two-Face, they fought so many times, and Batman's villains are so like psychologically based. Like they really like they know instantly like that he's not Batman. Like they know. They're
that's something I'm really enjoying about Spectacular Spider-Man too. Is that every time
Superior.
Every time that Doc Ock fights a villain, they're always like, "What's wrong with Peter?"
Like why
like they know
weird?
that something's fucked up. But no, I totally agree with Toby on this. Is I think one of my favorite Batman stories is when Bruce Wayne stops being Batman, and it's something that I love about the DC universe is that legacy happens. Like characters pass their mantle on to the next characters. And I love that. And if the movie hadn't come out, I think we would have seen Dick Grayson if we hadn't done a New 52 reboot, like I would have loved to have seen Dick Grayson be Robin for longer.
Well, I don't know if you guys read it, but there's a cool scene where Two-Face is staring at a monitor.
I've seen that.
And he's flipping through this tape, and it's Dick, he flips through the window and starts like punching dudes, just taking dudes out. And it's like if you just watched it in real time, you might almost think it's Bruce or something. But he's like, there's something wrong. He keeps rewinding the tape. And then he freeze frames right when Dick busts through the window, and he's smiling. He's like, Batman never smiles.
Yeah.
And it was like, I loved it right then. I was like, dude, Scott Snyder, because I was like the first thing I read about him, like, you get it. Like, I love you. You're one of my favorite writers now. Like, I knew in that moment. And because I loved Dick Grayson when I was a kid. You know, he was Robin.
Yeah.
Like,
Nightwing
always
was
loved
great,
Dick Grayson.
having all the Nightwing
totally.
series. And that's important to let characters grow up and move on and do new things. And it's something that I like about DC in general is that.
Well, and I thought that there was a really interesting thing because Dick was like, I'm not ever going to be Batman for so long. Like, he invented this entire other persona for himself as Nightwing. And then when Bruce dies and everybody thought he was dead, Dick suddenly is like, okay, I'll be Batman.
Right.
Like, he has to confront becoming his father.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and also
like, there's a lot of really interesting psychological things going on there.
Conforming to a way of fighting crime that he never fought crime before. Like, he talks to Alfred about how weird it is to fight with a cape on. He talks about how weird it is to have a sidekick. He is driving a bat car. He's in a different city. Now, there's like, a lot has changed, and all of those things are interesting. Change is the most interesting thing that can happen in a static universe like that.
Yes.
And I mean, that's what's so disappointing about when you just push the reset button on stuff is that change can't happen anymore.
Well, and like just within the Black Mirror itself, it's only 11 issues of a comic that had been around for 60, almost 7 years at that point.
600
it was crazy. I mean, it was like in the 700s, I think, when they started doing it. But like there's a scene where he goes to this auction, this weird, creepy like underground auction house. And so even though it's Dick at this point, they hold up this crowbar from Death of the Family, and it's like still has Robin blood on it. Like that's fucked up. But it's like so you're mentioning something that happened way back in like 1987 when it was still Bruce. So it's like even though you have the new guy, the past is still there, and you can still invoke it while moving forward.
That's what's cool about Wally becoming Flash and then Impulse taking over after, even though that was like short-lived and terrible. It was like those things are interesting because the lineage is what's important.
Absolutely.
And it's why having multiple Green Lanterns is cool. It's like,
well, the fact that Barry is the Flash is what makes Wally's arc so fucking interesting. I mean, they spend the first, I can't remember how many issues, but it's almost all of Mesner-Loeb's issues on that. Just having him deal with the fact that the reason he can't hit his top speed is because he can't deal with the fact that he's doing what Barry did.
Yeah, he can't.
And
it's at least the first
like
he's
19 or 20,
usurping
his idol and his this like father figure that he had, and so like that's an incredibly powerful moment when he's finally able to harness that. And I agree that legacy is very important.
The book that Toby's pitched before, and I pitched on the most recent long run is the Batgirl Rising, Stephanie Brown as Batgirl stuff, and it's like those issues are compelling because she's taking on the mantle of another character who was forcibly had to quit that job because she got shot in the spine. Like, there are real ramifications for being a superhero. And in a world with Batman and Nightwing and all of these other super characters, by all stretches of the means, Stephanie Brown shouldn't have to be Batgirl. But she chooses to be Batgirl because she believes in the idea of it. And that's interesting motivation for a character.
It is.
And I think that's what makes the DC universe great. And I
think
what made it great. And I think that this book is a part of that. Is a part of, like, sometimes you have to take things apart to make them more interesting. And like maybe it wasn't the best executed it could have been. I agree. I think that if this had been an independent creator-owned book, we would have seen a lot more interesting stuff happen from it. But that's our whole argument for creator-owned books in general. Is
I am agreeing with everything that you're saying.
Things are often cooler and more impactful when you can do whatever you want because they're your characters.
Absolutely.
I will say, though, if Kirkman did this, he would have killed at least a couple of those people.
Yeah,
and
I think Kirkman's way overrated. Sorry, I don't want to offend anyone.
I
think Kirkman is way overrated.
I think that Kirkman is good when he's good and he's bad when he's bad.
I think that what makes Kirkman good in my mind is that he has a sandbox to play in that is invincible that I care about. Like
I mean, like for him to write some of the shit he has, like me and my girlfriend have the big, like, deluxe trades that have like 2 or 3 of the normal trades in them a piece.
Oh, the hardcovers.
And man, like I read through those, I couldn't put them down, and there are moments that I was fucking holding my breath, and I think that takes talent.
Yeah.
Of course, there's plenty of moments where I'm like, "Are you seriously doing this?"
Well, there's also plenty of other series he has that didn't work like that, like Wolfman and Astounding Wolfman and stuff that just like didn't never
Science Dog.
Yeah, they just like never had that impact.
I have never ever. Like, no matter how... Like, Warren fucking Ellis has written things where I'm like, seriously, dude?
Yeah.
I mean, no writer is above it. Like, it's...
a million or whatever.
I think the
I don't
thing
know
is,
baseball. They bat millions, right?
I mean, there were moments during...
I
was reading Mark Waid's Fantastic Four run. Matt let me borrow it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are we really doing this? Are we really fucking doing this?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I'm going to judge a story on is, like, how I felt reading it. And there's plenty of stories I read where I'm like, read that.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it's about what you can take out of it. And if you can take out something, you're going to, I mean, it's not for everybody, no, but...
I will still defend this book as it's a book that you should read if you want to read
the
Justice
I think
League,
it's important to the history of the Justice League at this point.
Yeah, well, definitely. But I also just think it's...
The real Justice League.
The real Justice League. I also just think that it's, if you like the Justice League, like, sometimes you have to challenge why you like a thing, and I think this does that.
Can I also say one last thing that I hated about this book? Batman has those spiny things on his shoulders on the cover of the trade.
You mean those awesome spiny things on his shoulders?
I think they look pimp. Personally, I'm not gonna lie, they look pretty badass. I kept looking at it like, man, it looks all gothic and shit.
Wrong.
No, I think sometimes they're fine and sometimes they're not. But Toby was saying something earlier where it's the Batman was doing the Bela Lugosi thing with the cape, and I was reminded myself of when I played through Arkham Asylum, whatever the first one was. And I spent like 20 minutes just in the crouch as Batman, flipping my cape back and forth, being like, I am the knight. Like, that was the most enjoyable part of that game for me. That was when I felt the most like Batman, was when I was being an asshole in the air ducts of the asylum by myself. Like, that's what that reminded me of.
I think that us choosing this book at this point is actually really nice, fortuitous timing, because the importance of this book is going to become much more apparent in 4 episodes about.
Yeah, we're gonna
God, it's creeping up already.
It's creeping up. So we've got a big. We're gonna.
Don't tell all of it. Don't
no. I'm just
give
gonna
him
say
we've got give him a nugget.
We've got something big planned. That's all you're getting.
I found all the issues in the quarter bin too at half price books. Well, so it was perfect timing.
I think you're overhyping it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying we've got. I think it's one of our more ambitious episode ideas.
Yeah, it is. I didn't say it was a good plan. But we have a plan.
I think it's a good plan. That's where it begins and ends.
All I'm going to say is the book that I brought this week to pitch would actually dovetail very nicely with what we're going to talk about. And so I think we should pick it.
Let's do Rex. Toby, what you got?
Okay, so I've been wanting to pitch a Morrison book forever.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to pitch The Invisibles because it's too long.
That's rough.
And I didn't want to pitch The Filth
you have to read it 5 times.
Like way too... Oh, no, 7 times.
Yeah.
I didn't want to pitch The Filth because it's way too fucking dense. I didn't want to pitch Doom Patrol because it's way too fucking weird.
Yeah.
And you also have to read it 12 times.
And so the book I'm pitching is Animal Man. Volume 1 from 1988. It was like one of the first big things that Morrison did in the United States. It was actually... I think he did Doom Patrol first, and then he did Animal Man.
Animal Man is a book that they always mention in Grant Morrison's great books.
Yeah, and basically what it is Animal Man was this Silver Age character who had appeared something like 11 times from the 60s up through the 80s, very, very C-list. And Morrison kind of dusted him off and picked him up in the immediate aftermath of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and started doing really interesting things with him. He had a wife and small children, and he became a vegetarian when vegetarianism in the 80s was still a very odd thing to be.
Right.
Or an odd thing to do.
And still is.
Started really playing with kind of the meta nature of the DC universe in that Grant Morrison way, but toned way, way down from stuff that he's done later.
Well, and because
it was early.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because Crisis on Infinite Earths had just happened, and that was, I think, the first time that there was really a big, hard, reset button pressed on a comic book universe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he started immediately doing really interesting, weird things with the idea of the universe restarting.
Yeah.
Was this the book that had Psycho Pirate in it?
Yes. At the end. Don't spoil it. No. Well, interesting things happen with Psycho.
Well, it is also this is the book that people will blame Grant Morrison for. Hey, we just fixed everything, and now you're just picking at the stitches. We just put this shit back together, and you're chipping away drywall already. No, and the thing I love about this is even before it gets really meta, he's doing interesting things with a superhero character that is self-aware of the fact that he's a C-list superhero, and he doesn't want to be a C or D-list superhero. He likes, he wants to think of himself as one of the big guys, as a hero, and so he's doing cool heroic stuff, and I think it's a great superhero
and
book.
he's out as a superhero. He doesn't have a secret identity,
right? Yeah, and
it's a really interesting story.
I really like this book,
and if you've ever wanted to read Grant Morrison and not been able to, I think it's a good starting place.
And not have your head explode.
Well, I think it's
well, no, the head exploding is the good part.
Yeah, I think.
Well, okay, yeah.
I think it's restrained enough that it is accessible, but it still is pretty eye-opening in a lot of ways. I think it's good. It's a good middle ground.
Cade, what do you got?
Okay, so I have a crossover event book, and that is Alan Moore's Invincible meets Andrew Chard's Batman.
Oh God!
And where am
I drunk for all of this? Because that's the only way Batman's good.
I've seen Andrew Chard's Batman, and it is both terrifying and hilarious.
The one where
I think I laughed harder than I've ever laughed
creates
in my life.
the alternate universe, and the only way that Batman can save it is by staying in the air ducts, going, "I am the night."
Sure. No, I sometimes when I get drunk. And Joe leaves a Batman mask near me. I may put it on and spend the next 20 to 30 minutes doing the Batman Christian Bale voice.
We were at, I'm going to tell this story real quick. We were at a party with our friend who we'll call him Charlie.
At my own house.
At Chard's house, and we'll call our friend Charlie so that he remains anonymous. And both of them just got rip-roaring, 3 sheets to the wind, drunk. Chard is screaming over the beer pong match that's going on in the other room.
Hitting beer pong balls out of
Charlie
the air.
is all but passed out. He is so drunk that he is only there physically. He's checked out a long time ago. And we're all wearing this Batman mask and running around doing, doing this shit. Yeah. Chard gets a hold of. Well, Chard comes in, and I start doing, where are the drugs or whatever. And Chard starts doing it back to me, and then he takes the mask off, and he goes up to Charlie, who is just sitting there, almost catatonic, and starts shaking him, screaming, "Where are the drugs? Where are the drugs?" And our friend is just flopping around like he's a fucking fish, because he's got no muscle.
I thought I was yelling, "Swear to me."
No, he was weird. Yeah, you were doing both, "Swear to me" and "Where are the drugs," and it was. I lost my shit. It was one of the best moments ever.
And I've never seen Toby laugh harder.
No, I haven't either. We've known each other for 5 or 6 years now, and I've never seen him.
I've been laughing this entire time. You've just been talking about it.
It was an amazing moment.
Sometimes that accidentally happens.
Sometimes, yeah. It does.
You don't know.
But he is there's no question that he is the knight.
I am the knight.
Cade, now what is your actual pitch?
What are you really pitching?
Okay.
Way to derail the show,
that
you always do this.
That is my actual pitch, yeah. Chard would see. Okay, no, so my book is North 40 by Aaron Williams and Fiona Staples. It's been pitched by Toby before.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
I still need to read this.
And this is basically Walker, Texas Ranger meets Call of Cthulhu. And it's a small town supernatural drama. It's been on a lot of best of lists, and I've never read it, so I wanted to.
I think of it as Revival done right, even though it came out way before Revival.
I think that it's cool. I haven't read it, but I think it's cool because it's a contained story. Like, it has an ending, and I'm always really into books.
It is
that
really
are like
great.
A planned
it
ending.
Just barely skirts the border with me, where it's fun, but it's like brushing up against so creepy it actually legitimately freaks me out. Like, there are moments where I don't like reading this book because it honestly makes me feel like bad inside.
Nice. Which is weird because it didn't have that effect on me, and usually I'm really susceptible to that stuff. But
well, I have one of my big fears, like going back to a little kid, is the idea of being turned into a monster. I used to have terrible nightmares about that, possibly related to my reading Alan Moore's Swamp Thing at way too young of an age.
That'll do it. You
Thanks,
heard
Mom.
it here. Don't let your children read Alan Moore.
Oh,
Alan
but
Moore.
Toby, did you check out the new Alan Moore's Invincible?
Oh, God.
He dies on the first page.
He dies on every page.
He dies on every page. Yeah. Chard, what did you bring?
Come back to me.
No, I don't know now.
Come back to me. I haven't decided yet. I have a couple floating around.
Okay, I will go. I picked something I just actually read because, and I read it because it was just canceled by Marvel. Fearless Defenders, which is ran for 12 issues. The one just came out. The last one just came out, and it was
by Cullen Bunn.
Cullen Bunn and the artist who I cannot remember off the top of my head.
You keep talking, I'll look it up.
I think it's good. I really was entertained by it. The most interesting thing, though, is that it is a superhero team that is entirely made out of women.
The art, at least on the last issue, is Will Slinney.
Will Slinney does all the art.
Of it.
He does all the art except for a few, and the covers, which are hilariously pandering and ape a lot of different styles. But it's, right? You've got the Grimm's cover. You've got, like, the super anime cover. It's great. But I think it's written well for the most part. It's like I said, it's maybe not the best thing I've ever read, but it was fun and it was enjoyable. And
it was fun and it was interesting, and it was using a lot of characters that don't often get
just
used.
from the Marvel archives that haven't been, like, Hellcat is in this. Like, you're going, who the hell is Hellcat? Exactly. But
that's what I was doing.
Yeah, right.
That's who walked there.
Shriek is in this book, which is weird because I haven't seen her since Maximum Carnage, and now that I said that name, I'm going to go and vomit. Mannix knows what I'm talking about.
That's why I'm laughing.
Carnage is I stand by what I said last time. Carnage is the worst character ever.
People are like, I want a Carnage trade. I'm like, really?
No. Don't stand next to me anymore. Go away.
I don't know that I can say worst character ever, but I'll agree with you.
I mean, he's definitely in the top 5.
When the century
he's definitely the most 90s character ever.
Yes, that's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, right?
He and Cable can have a cockfight for
but
most
I
90s
feel like Cable was good in...
Cable's a guilty pleasure, though. I love
Cable, and he's good in Deadpool and Cable and Deadpool.
I don't like that series, but I think that Cable aged like he moved out of the 90s. Like, people wrote him better later. And no one
much
really
like
did that.
Deadpool himself.
Yeah, no, exactly. And nobody did that with Carnage.
Both of those characters have evolved several times, but Carnage has not.
No, because he's retarded.
Well, because all he does is be Carnage.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
he's
not really that interesting to begin with.
But, I mean, it's...
But Carnage isn't in Fearless Defenders.
No, he's not. And Venom is. The new Venom is.
Yay.
Briefly.
Briefly. But that's the thing, is that it's not just that this is a superhero story about superhero women. It's that there are seriously almost no men in it. It's about women. It's about women superheroes fighting women supervillains for the most part. And it's good for what it is. I mean, there's definitely some interesting stuff goes on. So I don't know if it would get voted for, but I definitely wanted to bring it up and say, go and read it, because if you all go out and read it and buy it, 50 of you that'll hear this, that won't do anything. But maybe if enough people have bought it and are interested in it, they'll do something with those characters or do something, because they totally leave. They don't wrap up the storyline. They wrap up the storyline, but they don't wrap up everything they're talking about.
But there's lots of story hooks left behind.
And Cullen Bunn specifically, or the editor says specifically, that the reason they did that is because they're hoping that somebody else will take it and run with it. And I think that would be awesome. I would love to see that. And I think it's a book Marvel needs. They're not nearly enough.
It's criminally underappreciated.
Yeah. And there's not nearly enough women superheroes running around out there, and a lot of these characters are not derivative characters. They're not just female versions of male characters. They're characters in their own right, and they're awesome, and they kick ass. So even if we don't vote for it, check it out, as you should with everything.
Awesome.
But I'll pass. Now
Eric,
you have to go.
No, Eric, what do you got? No, I can go, but Eric, he looks itching to go. He's ready
and raring to go. So the first time I was ever on the show for Marvel 1602, this is the book I brought, and I'm bringing it back, bitches. So it's Old City Blues by Milo Giannis. He is the one of the pencilers, along with Simon Roy, on A Prophet. I'm still hopelessly in a cyberpunk phase all these months later, and I can't get enough. I think if you're a fan of William Gibson, if you're a fan of Akira, Blade Runner, just awesome sci-fi stories. Mechs, if you like mechs. If you just like good manga, I think. This isn't like necessarily manga, but it's very influenced.
It's very manga-esque.
Yeah. It's
in the style.
Giannis is like a Greek guy, but it's like his version of like future Athens is like very like Neo Tokyo kind of.
Yeah. I borrowed this book from you after you pitched it the first time, and I really liked it.
I read this also after you pitched it the first time. You're pitching the first two this time though, which is nice.
Yeah, well, and this is what got me going. And I only have one complaint about this: is the volume 1, which you can't see since we're in an audio medium.
Hold it up to the mic.
Yeah, hold it to the mic. Can you hear it? It's a hardcover. It's this beautiful
you could have tapped on
yellow.
It, then we would have known it was a hard. That's audio.
Yeah. So it's $15. It's Archaea Press. So I know we've done a few other books, like they did. They put out Tale of Sand, another just gorgeous hardcover. On top of just being a good book, the physical presentation of the book itself, gorgeous. This one is no difference. Volume 2 just came out like maybe a month or two ago. It's super recent. The story itself still awesome, but it looks more like a standard manga. Volume 2 does. Like
it's smaller and it's paperback.
Yeah,
and it's only $2.
It's only $2. So like Archaea, step it up, guys! Come on. So like.
You're trying something new.
You can do the paperback, but do it for $10. You know,
that's what's up. If you're gonna do it, man, I need to see it.
Well, and also one thing about Archaea that does bother me is I love their hardcovers, I love their books, but often they don't give you the option of either or. Like, The Killer was only in hardcover for years
they actually
before they just released the paperback.
It's the first 2 volumes and a paperback.
And I would love to see them do more with, like, it comes out in hardcover, and then not that much later it comes out in a paperback. More standard.
Like the big guys are a little bit.
Yeah. And so what's unfortunate about this is that you never got the option to buy this as a hardcover first.
Yeah.
Because if I get hardcover, I need all hardcover.
If people complain about it long enough, they will do a hardcover.
Or they should put out the reprint of the first one that's the same size as the second one, so at least you can like keep your stuff consistent. Yeah. But I agree, the price point's a little high for how small that book is.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's kind of my thing. I'll pay for a premium edition. I don't mind paying a few bucks more.
Volume 1 is my copy. Volume 2 is the shop's copy that I will be taking back after I read it, because I didn't mind spending the $15 on the beautiful hardcover. But I don't pay full retail when I don't have to, and I definitely wouldn't pay.
Don't break the bank on that one.
No,
did you have anything else you want to say about Old City?
I feel like I said it all last time. I don't know if I can say it any better this time. I just think it's really well done. It's a book that's really underground, not a lot of people know about, because Giannis isn't a household name. I mean, even Prophet itself is not a big book, but I know you guys covered it, and that's one of the things that got me excited that it could even be a possibility. But yeah, it's one of the best books I can think of in recent memory that you haven't read out there in comic book land. Yeah,
it's definitely really good. And if you didn't listen to the Long Run episode 3, the book that we're doing for the Long Run episode 4 is a manga by Urasawa called Pluto. And this book actually reminds me a lot of Pluto. Nice. There's a lot of, like, Pluto's set in, like, a cyber future where there are robots. And it has a lot of the same elements. Like, it reminds me a lot of Akira and this and Blade Runner and Snatcher and Police Knots.
I would be disappointed in a cyber future that did not have robots.
Well,
that wouldn't be very cyber.
That's true. I mean, that's a big part of the cyber part of it, obviously. But there's lots of.
Well, I just mean in terms of the word cyber.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of good examples of like a cyber, like very high technology features that don't include robots, and the only one I can think of is Minority Report.
Yeah,
which I like, and also reminds me of like that kind of stuff. But anyway. That was a hard one because I was like, aliens, nope. Blade Runner, wait. Yeah, that was hard. Okay, yeah. So if you like this, if you like Old City Blues, if you read it after and like it, check out Urasawa's Pluto, which we're covering for the Long Run 4 in about 2 months. And vice versa, if you like Pluto and you want to check this out, or Akira or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I read it after you recommended it too. I have not read Volume 2 yet, but I really like Volume 1.
I actually just saw it in the shop on Saturday and was like, oh man, I didn't know that was out.
Yeah, it's cool. The art style is so distinct in this book that it's really enjoyable. So definitely worth checking out.
And it is free. It's a free webcomic. I can't read webcomics. There's just some like I can't do the format, so I have to have the book. But it's free. It's out there.
You're so old.
I did not know that.
That's part of the reason I wasn't on the RPG one, because I could only find it online and I couldn't read it. I tried. Yeah, Earthworld, because I liked the story. I read maybe the first 30 pages or what would have been 30 pages, and it like broke my brain, and I was also reading on my iPad and it kept refreshing and being all stupid.
That was my complaint about it.
Because I was like, this is really funny, I'm definitely intrigued, but it was purely the formatting of it. I
had to switch to the computer after a while because it was a lot easier to navigate.
Well, he said on the new website that it would be iPad compatible.
He responded to our
He actually did respond.
And said that they're redesigning the website.
It was super awesome, actually.
Super cool guy.
That's very cool.
And he sent us a ton of traffic, which was really great.
Yeah, that's a very great guy. So the book that I'm picking is a book that no one here at the table will vote for, but it's a book that I think people should read, and that is Mark Millar's Super Crooks. Okay,
let's move on to the next.
let's just move on to voting.
This is one of Millar's more recent books, and something that I think sets this apart from his earlier works is in a lot of his books, he's like, check out this sweet payoff. And you're like, but you didn't do any work to get that. That's not a payoff. It's just a splash page. Or it's just like a cool thing that you thought would be cool.
It's just the result of you masturbating.
Yeah,
he's really good at that.
It's just a thing that you thought would be cool to put in front of my face, so you did it. And you didn't earn it. Like, I didn't feel anything because you just threw it at me. And I was like, I don't know why I'm not reacting to anything. It's just hitting me in the face. Something that Super Crooks does was, it's the first time ever that I wanted they wanted Mark Millar to do something, and he waited like 2, 3, 4 more pages to give it to me. He was like, yeah, you want this thing to happen? It's not happening right now. It's not happening right now. It's not happening. Now it's happening. And I was like, yes! And it was the first time he ever has earned anything from me. And it's a fight scene at the end where you just want two guys to punch each other in the face really hard. And the payoff is worth it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Basically, the story is this guy gets released from prison, and his idea is we are losing being criminals in America because there are so many superheroes everywhere. It's like, we're just being stupid by being here. Never again. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Europe. And we're going to pull off a Ocean's 11 style heist where he gets the old band back together, and that's kind of the first part of the book, is getting this team back together of weird supervillains too. And then heisting basically like a Doctor Doom style world's greatest villain. I mean, he's not quite Doctor Doom because none of the heroes in this book are or villains are as kind of iconic as Marvel or DC characters. They're much more on the level of I don't know, the indie superhero stuff. Kind of if you read Absolution by Christos Gage, it kind of reminds me of those type of superheroes where they have powers, but they're not crazy powerful. Right. But anyway, shit goes wrong. People get punched. Guys get cut up by lasers a shit ton of times, but can't die, and it's gross. And
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, and it
sucks.
It's weird. I think it's fun. I think the art's Lionel Yu, I think.
Oh yeah, I think
and
so.
I really like Lionel Yu's art.
He's good.
And so I like the art in the book. I think it's really fun, and it I think is my favorite Mark Millar book. And I'm debating because I really like Red Sun, but Red Sun has problems too. So I don't know. I think it's a good Mark Millar book. I think it's way better than anything he's written recently. I think it's definitely miles ahead of Kick-Ass. It's several miles ahead of Ultimates. So even though I read Mark Millar and I like looking at it, this is the first one I think I've actually really enjoyed. Since Old Man Logan, which was a book that I don't love, but I thought was fun. This one I think is probably his best work since that. So, if you aren't Toby and Joe, you should go read Super Crooks. Super Crime.
Super Crooks.
Crooks.
Yeah.
Crime. Crooks. It's Crooks. Super Crooks. Final answer.
I vote for Tower of Babel. Wait. Hold on.
Joe, what do you want to read for realsies? This is what you get for opening your big mouth. You have to go first.
I'm going to vote for... What did you bring?
Animal Man.
You bring Animal Man. God damn it. I hate to give Toby a vote, but I'm going to vote for Animal Man.
Yay!
Mannix.
Oh, I'll go with Super Crooks. I actually hate Mark Millar, but I've heard good things from several people that have similar taste to me. So
you should check it out. I think it's a fun read, and I think even if the end of the end result is, I fucking hate that. It's Mark Millar. Yeah, at least you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
then I'll never listen to them again.
You'll know. At least you'll know that he still writes exactly the same. And then shit. It validates your own opinion that he's shitty.
Definitely.
I'm gonna vote for North 40.
Nice.
Because I think it'll be an interesting conversation.
Kate, what you got?
I vote for Sleep. I don't.
Kate, you look tired.
I am so tired.
I drank a lot of caffeine before the show. I should have shared some.
What are you gonna pick, Tard?
I'm gonna pick Animal Man. Actually, I really enjoy this series.
Animal Man it is.
All right. Yeah, I really like this series. I think it's good superhero stuff. And
I know we're going DC heavy. We were Marvel heavy for a little bit a couple of months ago. But I feel like this isn't a DC pick. This is a Grant Morrison pick.
Well, it's also...
I can tell you guys that in a few months, I'm not going to be picking DC books for a while.
I feel like we're coming towards the end of that.
Yeah, well, we've talked about
there's a very definite end in sight.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of iconic stuff. And Animal Man also ends up under the Vertigo imprint for a while.
All the reprints now are Vertigo.
It does.
The reprints are definitely Vertigo.
The trades are all Vertigo now.
So.
Vertigo...
All of these individual issues say DC on it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no,
but it starts...
Vertigo didn't start appearing on stuff till like 93 or something.
Yeah.
All right.
It starts in 88 and finishes in 90.
Okay, well, we will catch you guys next time and...
Read Animal Man.
Read Animal Man. All right.
Read everything we suggested. Bye.